Hello, hello out there. Good evening. Christina here, and I am not going to delay any of this with long-winded introductions. I'm going to bring on my friend Carrie Williams, who is a Dave Ramsey certified financial coach. She has her own firm called Running Valley Financial Associates. She is also a CPA, so I love having conversations with her because she's got insight into a lot of different areas. So without further ado, friends, meet my friend Carrie Williams. Hi, Carrie.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and thank you, Christina, for having me.
You got it. Thank you so much for joining me. So Carrie and I have been having some really, really great conversations about COVID and about how people have been financially impacted by COVID in ways that we never would have expected. And one of the things that we are staring down the barrel of, again, because we're seeing a spike in cases all over the place, is another potential shutdown. So Carrie, I'm going to turn it over to you to get our conversation started. What words of encouragement would you offer to your small business owners to get them through another potential shutdown?
Yeah, and absolutely, it's tough for everybody. You know, everyone with small businesses is just barely making it through on a day-to-day basis. And I know that feeling like there's another shutdown potentially coming could just be disastrous. But I would encourage you, don't lose hope. Definitely try to think about ways that you can pivot your business. And I know everyone's been pivoting all over the place and making lots of changes, but just think about how can you serve your customers differently? What products and services you can offer that may be different. Just think outside the box as to how to keep that income coming in these times.
We've got to be adaptable. That's like the biggest issue. And if you didn't learn in the first shutdown how to adapt your business, then it's even that much more imperative that you reach out to anybody for help. In Rhode Island, for example, we have a resource within the Rhode Island Small Business Development. I'm going to get tongue-tied. Rhode Island Small Business Development Corporation, and they actually offer free services to small business owners to just help you get your footing. And they, especially since the springtime, have been very active with webinars and phone calls and meetings and whatnot. So I would encourage anybody to reach out to resources in their area and find out what free resources you can get your hands on to be adaptable. Mm-hmm.
I totally agree, Christine. And I'm in Florida, and there's the same thing here in Florida. I know I'm in the Tampa area, and there's a small business development center. They provide excellent free resources for small businesses. So I would imagine across the country, you can find those resources. There's always funding to help small businesses when it comes to just questions and researching. And, my one piece of advice would be don't go it alone. Find your group of trusted advisors that you can bounce things off of, that you can ask questions to. Don't feel like that you have to go through this alone, because there's a lot of people going through it right alongside you.
To reach out to somebody that you trust is important, but I want to make that specific too, to say reach out to somebody that you trust that can answer the questions you have, as long as they work within that industry. So many of us have friends and relatives that are kind of a jack of all trades. So sometimes we turn to them for that trusted advice. But when it comes to your business and a potential shutdown, when you've got so many factors that are beyond your control, you got to rely on experts. So definitely reach out to people that you know to be knowledgeable in that area. And you made me think of something that I posted recently on my LinkedIn page. I wrote a blog months ago, and I just sort of reintroduced the topic about finding balance, right? Mm-hmm. And let's face it, if we end up in another shutdown crisis, and you're trying to find balance in your life, let's face it, your work is going to require a lot of your time. So that's where your balance is going to be. And I had somebody comment saying, yeah, well, finding balance is easier said than done. Oh, well, of course, all of this is easier said than done, which makes it that much more important to have a good support system. You need support. Nobody going through anything as challenging and stressful as this should be doing it alone. Not just because, and I'm just going to speak for myself, not just because we think you can't handle it, but because there could be something you miss. You don't know what questions to ask sometimes. You just know something needs to be done. So,
Right.
yeah.
And I totally agree with you, Christina, that, find that right resource. Don't get financial advice from a lawyer necessarily, and nothing against lawyers, but go to the professions that have those specific skills and that's their focus, because as things are changing on a day-to-day basis regarding the stimulus plans and all of the different government plans that are out there, go to the people that are the ones researching that and that have that up to the minute, details on it, so that, they can guide you accordingly.
Definitely. And as this whole situation begins to unfold, the other thing that we've been having conversations about is the fact that divorces and bankruptcies are spiking so hard. And let's face it, if you're dealing with challenges in your business, now you've got challenges on your personal side, it's that much more challenging to go it alone, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And, one thing that I try to tell everyone is, don't make decisions when it's emotionally charged. Try to get somebody else that you're working it through with and talking it through with, and don't make rash decisions, because if you're dealing with personal issues like divorce or other personal issues on top of your business issues, it's just a lot. So, make sure that you're taking the time and slowing down and thinking through those hard decisions.
Yeah. So talking specifically about divorce, the thought that crossed my mind is how often we run into small business owners that have really entangled their business finances with their personal finances. And you're nodding your head, so I'm sure you've seen this. It's so common. Small business owners have a tendency to treat that business, which they built, as a personal thing. It's a personal topic.
Right.
But it's not just if you're going through a divorce or bankruptcy, relying on a financial professional to help you separate those things. So they're two distinct entities, I guess you could say.
Right.
Would even be that much more important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially just something as simple as having separate business bank accounts and not commingling your business income with your personal checking account, having that separate, even from a tax record standpoint, it becomes so much easier to prepare that tax return at year end if things are very much separate.
Yeah, definitely. So as we kind of wrap this up, I'm curious to know, we were talking about turning to a trusted professional, but very often when we engage with that professional, they may have the title that we're looking for, but when we sit down in front of them, we have no idea what to say or what to ask. So what kinds of suggestions or words of advice can you give to encourage people not only to just make the phone call and book the appointment, but if they're not sure what to do when they get there?
Yeah, I would definitely say just be open, and there are no dumb questions. So if you're sitting down with somebody and you're not sure if they're the right person or not, just ask your questions, talk about your situation, because the more that you talk about your situation, then the more questions that the professional can ask you and kind of guide you to see, okay, where do you really need that support and where do you need that help? And maybe that particular expert is not the right one, but I can guarantee you they can direct you to the person who is. So just be open, and there's no shame, there's no dumb questions, because everybody is going through this, and this is something that nobody has experienced before. So we're all in this together.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's funny because very often a client will sit down with me and they just start talking. You don't know where to start. You try to make assumptions about what the professional wants to hear first. And usually it's just tell me, what is bugging you the most right now? And I don't know about you, my mind starts racing. I start thinking about all these questions, and a lot of the time I'm asking more questions than I need to, but it adds context. And the other thing I'll add to that is it also helps you get to know the professional sort of on a personal level. What's their personality like? Do you feel like you're actually going to be able to work with this person? I'm actually curious to know if anyone that's watching right now, have you ever had a professional of any industry that you've sat down with that you just did click with? Like, what did that look like? What did that feel like? How did you know that they weren't going to be the right professional for you? Because it happens to all of us. I've had clients that just didn't click with me. I've had clients that I haven't clicked with. It can go both ways. Right. And so I strongly encourage anybody who is consulting with a professional to help them with whatever situation they're in, especially if it's financial, because there's so much that can go wrong with bad financial advice. If you don't like the person, you don't have to work with them.
Right. Totally agree. It's about finding that right fit. And honestly, if you're sitting down across the table from someone and in the first 5 minutes, they're giving you advice on what you should do, they're probably not the right person, because that person should be listening to you. They should be listening to your story. They should be understanding where you're at before they start to offer that advice. So absolutely, it needs to be somebody that's a great listener.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, Carrie, thank you so much for having this conversation with me, because I love getting the other perspective, and especially seeing you're in a different state. I love hearing about what's going on in your world too. So thank you for chatting with me. Folks,
thank you so much.
Of course, I put Carrie's Facebook page on the screen here for you, so you can check out Running Valley Financial Associates. Follow her posts. She's got a lot of great things going on. She just did a YouTube video the other day, which was awesome, so check that out.
Thank you.
And of course, you can visit me at menextyear.com, check out my blogs, schedule a time to talk. Just talk. It doesn't matter what's bugging you. If you think the person can help, if you're not sure what to do, just have the conversation. Carrie, thanks for joining me.
Great. Thank you so much, Christina.
Bye-bye.
Bye.